My first real job was as a PSW in a nursing home on a native reserve. PSW, for the uninitiated, stands for Personal Support Worker, but we in the industry have agreed it's more like Professional Shit Wiper. I'm the girl who wipes your grandma's ass, basically. Of course, I also bathe her, feed her, clothe her, wheel her around, and sometimes I even get to talk to her. Most residents, though, are functionally nonverbal. Nursing homes provide the service of prolonging a lingering death, and over time it's easy to look at people with their clawed hands and open, gurgling mouths as not fully human. The work, eventually, will erode your soul. Shit wiping aside, the island reserve itself posed some issues. On the island, most people let their dogs loose, maybe for days at a time. This used to be pretty common elsewhere, but it's fallen out of favor the last 50 years or so. But it's not hard to see why when these dogs form terrifying packs. I'll admit I'm afraid of dogs, and there was one around the nursing home who got to me the worst. I only ever got a good look at him during the day to see that he was a black, ragged thing with one ear almost completely gone, a crooked tail that lay dead and limp behind him, and he always seemed to have a new leg to limp on every day. At night, he was much worse. He was just there in the shadows, scratching at something or another, or making chewing, crunching noises, eating God knows what. He wasn't a big one, but the other dogs seemed to give him space. I could have imagined it, but I always seemed to hear a growling whenever I was out at night taking a smoke break. I happened to mention this phobia to a resident in conversation. This man was our golden boy, being pretty much the only resident who was almost zero care. He could dress, walk, go outside, eat, toilet, and bathe himself. The man had it all.
Oh, I know that dog. He's fine. But I'll tell you what. I'll bring you a rock from the river next time I'm there.
He told me.
That river's good luck. A rock could be a good charm. Keep the dogs away.
I mentioned that this resident could bathe himself, but his unfortunate habit was to do so in the nearby river, leaving him smelling worse than if he'd not bathed at all. I've been told to discourage this, but to be honest, I was desperate for a magical rock, even just to throw it at the dog. We often had staff meetings to discuss making any changes in care plans, they're called. Basically, the focus was how to change a resident's daily routine if they were deteriorating, help them into their new, more limited life. A lot of these meetings were more like gossip than care. Plus, I was new, low in rank. I didn't have much to say at anything, which is why I would just zone out.
Okay, let's talk about Roger.
My ears perked.
It's got to stop. He's getting to a point where he could easily fall and drown in that river.
My thoughts exactly. We should have stopped this months ago. The smell really is too much. That water is crawling with all sorts of bacteria, and I don't think he's well enough to fight off an infection. God forbid.
There was more talk, but only one verdict. Roger had lost his outdoor privileges. I was there the afternoon they broke it to Roger, and I can tell you, he was devastated, heartbroken, furious.
Here's your fucking rock.
He thrust into my hand a small oval stone when I made my rounds. I'd never heard him swear before. This was a rare moment where I could forget I had a million butts to wipe and actually connect one-on-one. His eyes were welling up, and he quickly turned them toward the window. Men at any age don't want to be seen crying. What gem of wisdom as a 20-something could I pass to an elder who'd just lost his freedom? All I could do was take his hand, catch his eye, and make him see that I shed a tear of my own. It was the evening shift, 2 to 10, and for a change the director of care would be keeping the same hours. She was more of a 9 to 5, but she took the occasional late shift. Mostly I was impressed at Roger's self-control for not wanting her blood, since she was the one who took his freedom, and he knew it. If anything, he seemed very focused and calm. I took this as a sage reaction, like a man coming to terms. It was a very quiet night. Very quiet. Until Roger started howling. Great bellows of howling. Nothing could stop him. We swarmed with all manner of restraints to keep him under some sort of control. He kept going until, very faintly, I was sure I heard a howl from outside, almost lost in the commotion. Roger stopped. No more struggling, no more howling. He just gave in to the staff. The director of care left early, hoping, I think, that Roger would be less agitated if she were removed. She really did have his care at heart. I was taking a much-needed smoke break during a momentary lull in action. The evening had gone from very quiet to unbelievably busy after Roger's outburst. It seemed everybody was gonna have a restless night.
Goodbye, Carol. See you tomorrow.
The director waved on her way past. She got my name wrong, but I was new and, to her, pretty much faceless anyway. She made her way across the parking lot in the dying light when a shadow went wrong. First, one shadow went wrong. Cast by a tree, a large and tall shadow swiveled from the tree's left to its right, as though the source of light had completely shifted. A car's shadow leaked like grease spilling out from under its carriage. As though jumping ship, the director's own shadow vanished. She stopped walking. All the shadows were not only moving toward her, they were forming a patch of darkness in which she had a shrinking spotlight. As her own shadow returned, the spotlight vanished. In complete darkness, I could hear her screams, and the exact snarling, crunching, chewing sounds of the black dog in the shadows. I don't remember deciding to make a noise, but a whimper came out. If a shadow could look at you, that's what the shadow did. If it could smell you, that's what it did. If it could decide not to attack you, that's what it did. It should have been a relief for the shadows to dissipate, but all it meant was that the horror of the attack came in view. In a CPR course I'd taken, we had discussed when not to start CPR. The idea being you should always start unless it was plainly obvious there was no hope. There would be no CPR. In a stupor, I staggered inside, only to be greeted by Roger.
Good thing you had the rock, huh?